Please welcome Dennis Zakas, Chairman of the Top 40 Committee.
Good morning. So I'm very pleased to see, well, I would see except for these lights, but so many people out here. It's really gratifying to see how many people have come today to the summit. Most years, I start this presentation with a look back at the history of the Top 40 and the origins of the summit. But this year, I'm going to try something a little bit different and try to connect the Top 40 competition with the broader themes of the Georgia Technology Summit. So we gather today, I think, sharing a common belief that technological innovation is the essential ingredient for economic growth and job creation in the state of Georgia. And based on that belief, TAG has incorporated the concept of innovation in the theme of every summit. In 2012, for example, I think it was innovation, the path to a bright future. This year, as you know, it's disruptive innovation, the power to inspire. Now, we select the TAG top 40 companies based on their innovation consistent with this theme and the likely impact of that innovation. Most importantly, we always, not just this year because of the particular theme, but we always look for disruptive or breakthrough technologies because we believe that these are the type of companies that will have the most significant impact on growth and job creation in the state. Disruptive innovations have the power to inspire, as our theme suggests, but they also have the power to destroy and supplant prior technologies. They're the engine of what economist Joseph Schumpeter called the creative destruction of capitalism, a concept that was based in part on the teachings of Karl Marx, so I don't know how far to take that. But what Schumpeter said is we acknowledge that capitalism often destroys jobs through its engine, disruptive innovation, but ultimately, capitalism creates the long-term benefits of economic growth, enhanced productivity, better jobs, and ultimately economic wealth. And a good example was the adoption of computers, which precipitated the decline of adding machines, calculators, slide rules, assemblers, millwrights, clerks, and tinsmiths, but ultimately the economy gained jobs for programmers, computer engineers, electrical engineers, software designers, developers, graphic designers, many, many more. You can see the beginning of the disruptive effect of Tesla on not only on the technology of automobiles, but also on the processes surrounding the maintenance of automobiles, the delivery of automobiles, an infrastructure supporting batteries and the like. So disruptive innovation frees up resources that can be better deployed and inspires the creation of new jobs, companies, and industries, resulting in the generation of growth. So let's look at our assumption one more time. Are we justified in putting faith in disruptive technological innovation? For one thing, we have to do it just to compete because everybody else is going to be doing it. And Schumpeter and his followers said that there's no benefit and no chance of stopping the effect of disruptive innovation and the creative destruction of capitalism. It's going to happen, and we in Georgia are very well positioned to help make it happen and to benefit from it. So let's take a look at a couple of top 10 winners that I think I just picked out of the drop of the hat, so don't read too much into this. I would say take Rest, which based on a disruptive new fabric inspired the creation of a disruptive mattress. So that's great, and it's going to be a very successful company, and from everything I hear, it's a great mattress. And the result of that is a lot of other mattress companies might be put out of business if everything goes according to plan. Look at BitPay. They didn't invent the Bitcoin, but they were inspired by the Bitcoin and inspired to work on payment processing, and we can guess that they'll play a major part in destroying payment processing and money and central banking as we know it. But all the while generating growth for the state, and ultimately in ways we can't predict, this disruptive innovation is going to be beneficial for our state. So You're going to hear presentations from REST, BitPay, and the other top 10 companies, and their speeches are going to be limited to 3 minutes, but I've always said if you can't tell us why you're innovative in 3 minutes, then you shouldn't be on the stage. And so we'll see if they can meet that standard. We have a wonderful top 10, top 40 selection committee that works very hard, and their names are all listed in the back of your program. I want to thank them for everything they do every year, and especially this year's co-chair, John Wilson. And now, one last thing, John will tell you more about the People's Choice Awards, but pay careful attention to what you're hearing from your presenters, because you, the audience, will get a chance to vote on the People's Choice Awards. And now, without further ado, the first 3 top 10 winners, AnswerRocket, Qspex, and Bluefin. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Pete Riley with AnswerRocket. AnswerRocket was started about 17 months ago here in Atlanta with a core team that were alumni from Radiant Systems. In fact, our CEO, Alon Goren, was a founder of Radiant Systems, where he was also the chief technology officer for about 20 years. Okay. Companies are spending about $14 billion a year on business intelligence and analytics software. And they're doing this to give their companies the ability to make faster, more effective business decisions, which is great. But we think there's a problem. So that problem is that today's tools are still designed largely for technicians to operate. So when a business person has a question that's not on the company dashboard or report, well, they've got to go to the technician for help. And more often than not, that means they need to wait. We think there's a better, simpler, and faster way. We're leveraging machine learning, natural language processing, and cloud computing to connect to any enterprise data source and give enterprises the ability to get access to their data through a Google-like search experience. Okay, I'm going to show you a demo. I pre-recorded this. This is a video, and I'm going to live narrate the video. And as I mentioned earlier, we can connect AnswerRocket to any data source. In this example, I'm using NFL data. And specifically, we have every play for every game over the last 15 years, so since the 2000 season through this past season. And the key part of the application is obviously the search box. And so let's say I want to know how many touchdown passes does Tom Brady have? Well, I just start to type my question. And you'll notice as I start to type my question, the system is giving me some hints about what it knows. I can go and select from that list. I can change it to how I naturally want to ask the question, which is fine. And I go through that process, I hit enter, I get an answer. And very often you see a piece of information, right? You have another question. And so we made it really easy to ask a follow-up question. I want to know, what does that look like by season? And the system also automatically figures out what's the best way to show it to me. In this case, it was time series, so it shows me a line chart. We can do comparisons and averages and rankings, and so here I want to do a comparison to Peyton Manning. If I don't like the visualization presented, I can pick other ones that are available in the system. I can print this, I can share it, I can download it. If I want to go to a new question, I just hit the plus button. Now I'm in an entirely new context, and here when I did the video, I actually used voice, and I said, which quarterback has the most rushing touchdowns? Any guesses? The answer is Vic, followed by McNabb and Donovan. So also, if I want to know what does that look like on 2014, I just say 2014. And number 1 was Russell Wilson. And there's a ton of other things that I can possibly show you in 2 minutes, including some future work that we're doing on answering questions like why or what if. So hopefully this gives you a sense for what we're doing at AnswerRocket. And our innovation is basically allowing companies to connect to their data sources and have this Google-like search experience to get answers to their questions. Thank you.
Good morning. There are obviously a lot of very interesting companies here in Georgia, and this is one as well. And let me speak to a little something that probably is near and dear to most of your hearts, and that's vision. Qspex actually has a very revolutionary process that allows us to transform the way service is being provided today as it relates to vision. Typically, I'm looking out there, most of you who are wearing eyewear have waited multiple days, if not weeks, to have your eyewear delivered. We actually have a revolutionary process that allows us to produce premium eyewear in hours and delivered back to you same day through our concierge service. So it's a very revolutionary and disruptive model in the sense of not only leveraging its technology, but also the service model. So why does it matter? For obvious reasons, we all need our sight. I'm looking out there, and there's roughly about half of you that are wearing glasses today. And that's a typical statistic worldwide. In fact, a majority of your emerging countries today are undercorrected and need eyesight. And we have the ability to do that and mobilize that through our technology and service model. So how do we do that? I don't know how many actually are aware of the eyewear space today, but it really is a traditional scaled process where there's milling or surfacing and polishing. We have actually reverse engineered the industry, very similar to Tesla, in the sense that we looked at what is a traditional way of actually fabricating lenses and turned it upside down in the way we actually fabricate this. We do this through a touchless transfer system. It's a molded technology that is vastly different than the scaled traditional milling and polishing system today. And we're able to do that cost efficiently, effectively, and obviously very exponentially as well. So in a traditional system today, your normal tack time, if you will, are multiple days in manufacturing, but we're able to do that as a set of hours and deliver that back to you through our personalized, if you will, Uber-like concierge service to your door or your office same day. And on top of that, whereas traditional industry is moving afar away from us, we're moving back into the communities, into a space that actually where it started, which is in your neighborhoods. So we're now no longer distant or removed. We're back in the communities delivering this premium eyewear with our local licensed opticians who are, again, saying and meeting you at the location of choice as you see fit. So we're advancing in many aspects. Telehealth is moving this way. Telemedicine is moving this way. Teleoptometry is following that, as are consumer mega trends. And so we are following the leads of other categories beyond that of optics and aligning that, if you will, as Uber has in the transportation space, and doing that through a better vision, faster mentality in the sense that we're offering premium prescription eyewear, consumer guided, customized to your eyes, fulfilled same day through a directed, personalized concierge service and dispensing process. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Schrader, the Chief Marketing and Strategy Officer for Bluefin Payment Systems. Currently, we've got a revolution going on in the payment security industry. And that revolution is really being led by the cyber criminals and the people that are trying to disrupt the payment card network. Bluefin is at the forefront of that fight against the cyber criminals, and we work every day to innovate, develop, and create new solutions that ensure that when you use your credit card, debit card, or any other form of payment, it is a secure payment. So before I go any further, I'd like to ask a question. How many people in this room in the last 12 months have either gotten a letter, a phone call, or a replacement credit card from their bank or their credit card issuer? What a surprise. I'm going to tell you the reason for that and how to solve for that. The first thing I am going to tell you, though, if the merchants had been running Bluefin's PCI validated point-to-point encryption solution, none of you would have gotten that letter, that replacement credit card, or that phone call. So one of the things that we know is what's causing these, this disruption, this anxiety in the industry, and the answer is breaches. We're all familiar with breaches, right? Target is the poster child for breaches if you haven't heard about it. Yeah, they're not proud of that, but unfortunately they're stuck with it. One of the things that gets overlooked every day is that beneath that waterline on the graphic in front of you is about 800 merchants that don't have the money, that don't have the resources to survive the breach that has happened to them. So they have basically come to a point where they no longer can financially survive and eventually will go out of business and file for bankruptcy. So breaches don't only attack the Targets of the world and the tier 1 merchants, they really attack everybody. So the question is always, what's the problem? What's the solution? The problem is very clear. It's malware. It's malware put into the credit card terminal. The solution, as defined by PCI, which is the Payment Card Industry Standards Board, is a validated point-to-point encryption solution. So let me tell you what that looks like. When you swipe your credit card, if you look to the left at that credit card terminal, when you swipe that credit card, that data is in the clear. If you use a PCI validated solution, it is no longer in the clear. So what does this mean? There's 3 things that you get from running a PCI validated point-to-point encryption solution. You reduce the scope. Every business has to do an audit every year. 326 questions drop by 90% to 35 questions if you're running a validated solution. You also protect your cardholder data, but most importantly, you protect your reputation and you protect your business. So with that, Bluefin will continue to innovate. We've been recognized in the industry by the media, by the association, and by our peers. We'll continue to invest and grow in Atlanta, and I'd like to say thank you.